Alhamdulillah wa salat wa salam ala wa rasulullah. We're continuing with the topic of how to learn and benefit from the differences of the companions. And hopefully this is proving to be a very, very important topic for all of you who have been participating since the beginning. I hope that from teaching what happened with them, how they handled their trials, how they handled their differences, that you will be able to take their lessons learned and apply them to your personal life, and in turn be able to handle your own personal differences, your own personal trials. Because remember, regardless as to what they went through, Allah has already chosen to forgive them of any bad choices and mistakes they've made in life, because their faith, their belief in Him was that strong. And they were quick to turn back to Allah and repent when they recognized that their choices were bad. Also, Allah tells us in the Quran that they are the best of this nation. They are the best example for us. By learning about their trials, learning about their differences and how they overcame them or how they handled them, in turn, they should be examples for you as to how to handle your differences amongst each other, how to not transgress the limits with each other, and etc. So that's the whole point in me teaching this series. And we stopped off at the point in history whereas Ali, who was forced into the position of leadership over the Muslims, was now faced with an enemy who was once a friend, and that was Muawiyah. And by the way, Muawiyah and Ali were related. They were also family. Okay, Muawiyah, his anger at what happened to Uthman, how Uthman had been murdered unmercifully by the rebels. Muawiyah, obsessed with his anger and his quest for power and vengeance. And then we have Ali, who really was alone, because it seems like he could not convince Muawiyah or anyone else to really understand that he wanted vengeance for what was done to Uthman too. But his hands were tied because the men responsible, the rebels who were responsible for destroying and killing Uthman, were in power. They had their hands around Ali's throat too. But no one seemed to understand it except for one person, and that was Ibn Abbas. And we stopped off with how Ibn Abbas had betrayed Ali too. His one confidant, his one person, his one supporter, Ibn Abbas, due to the propaganda that Muawiyah used. Muawiyah was a military genius. He didn't want to fight physically either. So he started propaganda, and he commanded his men to find whatever dirt they could find on Ibn Abbas to turn him and Ali against each other. And they found out that Ibn Abbas had been stealing some of the state treasurer, the treasury's money. Okay. When Ali found out, he asked Ibn Abbas to turn in the receipts to prove his innocence. Ibn Abbas refused. He said, the fact that you're asking me this means you don't believe me. So I'm going to resign. And that's what Ibn Abbas did. He resigned as governor over Basra, and he left and took all the state's funding with him and spent it on right-hand possessions. He arrived back in Mecca and bought a bunch of slave girls' right-hand possessions. And that basically destroyed his relationship with Ali. So the propaganda created by Muawiyah, was strong and in effect. And this is where we stopped off, that Ali had no one. So what happened then? After hearing what happened, after hearing or finding out that he was successful in taking away the only supporter that Ali had, what did Muawiyah do? Well, what Muawiyah did was he then began raids against the territories that were in support of Ali. And this is what we're going to speak about today. We talked about how Ali was successful in winning back Basra. Okay. And when Muawiyah realized that he failed at winning Basra back, okay, that's when he got the people to find dirt on Ibn Abbas. Ibn Abbas was resigned as the governor of Basra. That's when Muawiyah decided, well, now he's going to indulge in raiding against the territories that were in support of Ali, to try to create a sense of insecurity among the people. Remember, Muawiyah was a masterminded genius when it comes to warfare. So what Muawiyah did was he organized raiding parties under different commanders, and those parties were told to undertake raids in the territory of Iraq and all along the border. In other words, to do what terrorists today call themselves doing, try to seek fear into the hearts of the people, raid the people, make them afraid to travel, put fear into the hearts of people. And that's what they did, okay? A party was under the command of a man named Noman ibn Bashir. You may have heard about him in some of the hadiths. He was a companion of the Prophet, sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Okay, Noman ibn Bashir was asked to ravage the part of the border known as Ayn Tamr. Another party was put under the command of Sufyan ibn Auf. He was commanded to operate against the territories of Hit and Anbar. And the third party was underneath the command of Abdullah ibn Masa'ada, who was commanded to operate in the Taima section. And then another a party was under the command of Zohak ibn Qais. He was supposed to raid Upper Mesopotamia. So this is what Muawiyah set in motion. And again, the purpose of these raids was to ravage and plunder, to strike fear into the hearts of the people. And as a result, Muawiyah and his Syrians, they gathered a lot of the war booty, a lot of money and all of that as a result of these raids against the people. And what they would do is come out and strike and then withdraw. The same technique that many terrorists today use. And there they strike and then they withdraw. They strike and then they withdraw. And so what Ali did when he realized that Muawiyah was sending out raids, he strengthened the borders by putting security guards along the borders of the land that he controlled. So the Syrians were not able to occupy any area in Iraq, but instead they were a nuisance, just like these terrorists are today. The terrorists are a nuisance. They're not occupying any territory or gaining any, they're just making people afraid to travel. They're just a nuisance. And they end up draining the financial resources of Ali. Okay, so now you see where these terrorists are getting their maneuvers from. They're trying to imitate history. Well, history has this way of mimicking itself anyway. Also during this time, by the way, this was in the year of 660. Near time for the Hajj, you know, we make Hajj every year. At the time of the annual Hajj, Muawiyah sent an expedition of 3,000 horsemen under the command of a man named Bashir ibn Artak. He told him, what I want you to do is go and ravage the Arabian Peninsula. Now, right now, Muawiyah had raiders attacking Iraq, attacking the borders of Iraq. Now he decided to take his attacks to Saudi Arabia, which was the other area. And he had this contingent led by a man named Bashir. Now, Bashir was a hard-headed, savage brute. He was known as being evil and cruel and mean. His mission was to win the people of Arabia over to the side of Muawiyah. Muawiyah sent him. He wanted him to make the people in Medina and make the people of Mecca give Muawiyah their allegiance. Now, remember, I told you guys how Ibn Abbas refused to get involved in that fitna. When Ramadan had came around, before Ibn Abbas resigned as governor of Basra, Muawiyah had sent out word that the moon had been seen in Syria. And so Ramadan had began. He knew that if Ibn Abbas acknowledged his sighting of the moon, the rest of the territories would interpret that as Ibn Abbas giving his allegiance to Muawiyah. So that's why Ibn Abbas said, we ain't gonna look for no moon. We're not gonna accept his sighting of the moon because he has dirty hands. Instead, we're gonna go to local sighting. Okay, well that ticked off Muawiyah. Okay, so now Muawiyah said, I tell you what, we need to get the support. I need to make these Muslims in Mecca and Medina accept me as the caliph and not Ali. Ali had Kufa, okay, and Ali had Basra. Muawiyah had Syria supporting him as caliph, and he now had Egypt, because remember, he had taken Egypt away from Muhammad ibn Abu Bakr. He said, but now we got to get Arabia. I have to get Mecca, Medina. So he sent this man named Bashir to campaign against Medina. And remember, guys, Ali had shifted the capital of the Muslim world from Medina to Kufa. Ali was in Kufa. Ali did not have anybody in control protecting Medina. The reason why Ali has shifted the capital from Medina to Kufa was to keep the Prophet's sacred city from being involved in this war. Okay? But he didn't leave anyone in charge there. Okay, not really. It's not, no one in charge to, put it this way, to protect Medina. He had a governor appointed for Medina, but no army was there to protect Medina. Ali was hoping that Muawiyah would have better sense than to try to bring war to the city. Okay, so there was no defense mechanism in place to protect Medina. So Muawiyah sent Bashir. And when Bashir's army arrived and the people of Medina realized that they were getting ready to be attacked, the man appointed to be the governor left. And Bashir was able to occupy the city of Medina without any resistance. And when Bashir arrived, he told the people of Medina to gather together at the Prophet's mosque. And when the people gathered together, Bashir accused the people of Medina of not helping Uthman. He said, shame on you. Look at you people. Many of you are eminent companions. Many of you were our eminent companions of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. How could you guys sit here and allow Uthman to be murdered so horribly? He said Uthman, who was the third best of this nation, was murdered in cold blood before your very eyes, and you people did nothing to stop it. And now you're doing nothing to seek vengeance for what they did to Uthman. His talk that he gave was so filled with passion that the people of Medina began to cry tears, because they all loved Uthman and they began to mourn his murder. And they began to repent, oh Allah, forgive us for not doing anything. And then after he saw that he had the people where he wanted them, Bashir then commanded that they all take the oath of allegiance and make Muawiyah and say that they give their allegiance to Muawiyah as the new leader or the caliph over the Muslims. And he also removed the man who Ali had appointed to be governor. And he appointed one of Muawiyah's men to be the governor instead. So thus Ali had now lost the city of Medina. The city of Medina now had given their allegiance to Muawiyah. And Muawiyah began to feel like he was in control. Not only did he have Syria, not only did he have Egypt, but he now had Medina thanks to Bashir. And after getting the people of Medina to pledge their allegiance to Muawiyah, Bashir and his army of Syrians moved to Mecca then. And again, when the governor of Mecca, who was Khatam ibn Abbas, he was one of the sons of Ibn Abbas. I mean, he was not Khatam ibn Abbas, he was one of the sons of Abbas. who was one of the uncles of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. When Khatim, who was the appointed governor of Mecca, realized that Mecca was under attack, he did the same thing that the governor of Medina did. He did not offer any resistance. Bashir rode in with his army. He made the people gather at the mosque, the Prophet's mosque, and he gave the same announcement he gave in Medina. Shame on you Meccans. You guys did nothing to stop the murder of Uthman. You guys are sitting here in your homes not doing anything to avenge his murder. He made the people feel so bad and made them break down in tears and threatened them. And they too ended up giving their allegiance to Muawiyah too. Those who refused to take the oath of allegiance ran away. They escaped from the city. And amongst the people who left Mecca was Abu Musa Ash'ari. You guys remember Abu Musa Ash'ari, one of the eminent companions. And remember, he was one of the umpires or the arbiters, who was representing Ali, and got tricked by Amir ibn al-As. Well, when Abu Musa Ash'ari realized that the city was under attack, he left. He left. Remember, he did not support Ali as Caliph, nor did he support Muawiyah either. So he ran away from Mecca. But when Bashir heard that Abu Musa Ash'ari had escaped from Mecca, he sent a group after him. And they caught him. They caught Abu Musa Ash'ari and brought him before Bashir. And Bashir asked him, he said, why did you run away? Why did you leave Mecca? And Abu Musa Ash'ari told him, I left to protect my life, to save my life. And Bashir told him, if you valued your life, then you will give your allegiance to support Muawiyah. So in fear of his life, even though he did not want to, because Abu Musa did not support Muawiyah either. Remember, when they had the arbitration proceedings, remember Abu Musa Ash'ari told Amir al-As, there's no way that you could think that Muawiyah is superior over Ali. Okay? But being that his life was in danger, Abu Musa Ash'ari took the oath of allegiance to Muawiyah too. He was forced to take it by Bashir. So thus Ali had lost all of the Arabian Peninsula. He lost Mecca and Medina. And this was a great blow to Ali. When Ali heard what had happened, he was very sad. After bringing the people of Mecca and Medina under the hooves of Muawiyah, Muawiyah then commanded Bashir and his army to go to Yemen. Now, Yemen was another part of the Muslim world at this time, and the governor there was Ubaydullah ibn Abbas, who was another one of Ali's cousins. Okay, all the Abbases were related to the Prophet Muhammad and Ali. Remember the Prophet Muhammad's uncle, Al-Abbas. Well, these were all his descendants. Okay, so Bashir, he went from Mecca then to Yemen. And when Ubaydullah heard that Bashir and his army was on his way to Yemen, unlike Mecca, Medina, he did try to resist. He did try to fight back, but he didn't have much of an army. In fact, Ubaydullah ended up running away from the battlefield. He left his deputy, who was a man named Abdullah Harithi, he left him alone on the battlefield. And of course, Bashir's men overpowered Abdullah Haritha and he was killed. And after killing him, Bashir and his army then entered the capital of Yemen, took control, and he committed a lot of atrocities there. In fact, he killed all the young children of Ubaydullah ibn Abbas. Now, you know this is something that we do not do in Islam, even in war. But this man killed every single one of all of his babies, because he had wives and little young kids, little baby kids. killed all of them. And then he had the men of Yemen who had fought against him taken captive, and he executed all of them too. And you know this is against Islam too. The people of Yemen were terrified, and as a result, they all gave their oath of allegiance to Muawiyah too out of fear. You know, can you believe this was going on? In the meantime, word got to Ali about Bashir and what he had did in Yemen. This was atrocious. Ali did gather an army of 4,000 men, and he sent them to Yemen under the command of Jariah ibn Qadama. We talked about him before. Jariah ibn Qadama, he was the one that brought the victory to the Muslims when they was fighting the Basra situation. So Ali did, he sent Qadama and Wuhayb ibn Masud al-Thaqfi. He sent them to Yemen to try to deal with this brute Bashir. And on the way to Yemen, the army of Ali happened to pass through the territory known as Najran. And the people of Najran were supporters of Muawiyah. And so Ali's army ended up fighting with them. The Najarites were defeated and killed in large numbers. And this is on the way to, Yemen. In the meantime, word got to Bashir that Ali's army was advancing on him, was coming to Yemen to try to deal with him. Bashir, with his crazy self, could not decide whether to. So before Ali's army reached Yemen, Bashir and his Syrian troops, they ran away and went back to Syria. Ali's army arrived in Yemen and restored order. The people who had taken the oath of allegiance to Muawiyah, because they were forced to do so, they now recanted their oath, and Ali gained back his support, gained back his hold on Yemen. And after restoring the law and order in Yemen, Ali ordered his army to go back to Mecca and Medina and try to make things right there too. And so the army then went to Mecca, and the people of Mecca were so glad to see them, and they also recanted their support of Muawiyah and went back in support of Ali. And after establishing and getting control of Mecca, Ali's army then went back to Medina. The people of Medina were so glad to see Ali's army too. They also recanted and gave their oath of allegiance back to Ali again. So here, although a lot of people have been killed, especially babies, a whole man's family of children, which is something that we do not do. Ali was able to gain back Yemen and gain back Mecca and Medina. But the damage had been done. And that's what Muawiyah was out to do. He was out to put fear into the hearts of the people. As a consequence of his raids, Muawiyah did not acquire any new territory. He still just had Syria and Egypt. But a great part of the country, the Muslim world, had been ravaged. Many people had been killed. Many atrocities had been inflicted against the Muslims. This man Bashir was such a savage brute. Ali was so angry to hear how Bashir had killed the babies of Ubaydullah that Ali did what the Prophet did when the Quraysh attacked the Prophet's family. Ali called upon Allah and he invoked the curse of Allah on Bashir. The same way the Prophet Muhammad had to invoke the curse of Allah upon Abu Jahl and Abu Lahab and them for what they had done to the Muslims in Mecca before. So Ali made dua invoking the curse of Allah on this evil man who took so many lives and who violated so many injunctions of Islam. And Ali's dua must have been heard, because when Bashir arrived back in Syria, he became mentally insane. He went through fits of madness. He would go to sleep and wake up grabbing his sword, hitting people with his sword, imagining he was fighting against people. So what the people did was, when he went to sleep, they took his sword away from him and gave him a wooden sword. And they put animal skins, a stuffed animal skin for him to fight. And that's what he did. He would wake up taking this with his wooden sword, hitting this stuffed animal. Finally, he went so insane that he died of exertion. And the world was finally rid of him. So Allah, answered the supplication of Ali. Remember, you can't transgress the limits of Ali, killing women and children and babies and killing Muslims and other Muslims and just all this crap that this man was doing. So Allah took his soul. But again, the damage had been done. The damage had been done. The damage was the people, the Muslim world, had been demoralized. The people's values, Islamic values, had been taken away from the people. The laws of Allah had been violated. People began to lose hope. Muslims killing Muslims. Muslims transgressing the limits like Kafirs do. Even worse than Kafirs, like animals. So the demoralization, the psychological warfare had begun. So that was the damage of these raids. These raids did not bring Muawiyah no countries, no more power. Instead, it was a psychological warfare that demoralized the people. And that's the same tactic, guys, that these terrorist groups today are using. They're trying to demoralize us. We can't allow that to happen. Now, according to Tabari, since the people have been demoralized. So what happened was, it ended up being that Muawiyah, that the Muslim world would have two caliphs. Muawiyah would be the caliph of the Muslims for Egypt and Syria, and Ali was to be the caliph for the rest of the territories, such as Yemen, Kufa, Basra, Medina, and Mecca. After the failure of Muawiyah's raids, Muawiyah made a truce. Him and Ali went into a truce. And the only reason why Muawiyah made this truce was to gain time and gain more strength, because he knew that Ali had been weakened, especially since he had no support from Ibn Abbas and other eminent companions. And Muawiyah, being the mastermind he was when it comes to warfare, knew that he could take advantage of, with this peace agreement, he could take advantage, trying to imitate what the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ did. Remember, back in the Prophet's days, people asked, why did the Prophet Muhammad go into that Hudaybiyah truce? He went into that truce with the Quraysh because it allowed the Prophet time to convert more people to Islam. Well, Muawiyah was using a technique similar. He went into this truce with Ali. He said, Ali, you can be the leader over the Muslims in Kufa and Basra and Mecca and Medina, and I'll keep Egypt and I'll keep Syria. He did this thinking that this would give him more strength, knowing that it would probably make Ali become weaker. And it worked, because by the mid-660 year, Muawiyah saw that the position of Ali had become so weak, especially since he lost the support of Ibn Abbas and them. At this point, Muawiyah considered himself to be strong enough to declare himself as the one and only caliph. And that's what he did. Muawiyah announced to the world that he was the one and he was the only leader of the Muslims. And this declaration shocked Ali. But Ali was not a wimp, guys. Ali believed in Allah and feared Allah more than anyone else living at that time. Ali said that he could not remain quiet at such a declaration. And Ali said, even though I am not strong enough to undertake military action against Muawiyah, I am not going to sit still and allow him to declare himself the leader over the Muslims. So what Ali did was he said, I'm going to turn it over to Allah. He said, I know that this is Allah's way of testing me, and I know Allah will give me the strength. He said, Muawiyah, you are not the caliph, and I will not sit by and let you take that position on yourself. And this is where we're going to stop off today. So see, Muawiyah may have been a military genius, but what was it in that arbitration that Abu Musa Ash'ari had kept saying to Amir el-As? Yes, Muawiyah knows the world. He's better experienced in worldly things. But worldly things does not supersede piety. Ali is the most pious and righteous Muslim on earth, living on earth right now. Okay? Muawiyah may be a military genius, but Ali had the strongest faith at that time. So now what happened? Who won? What happened? Muawiyah declared himself to be the new caliph. Ali said, oh no, I ain't sitting by letting this happen, even though I ain't got no army. Even though I don't have no support, I got Allah. Ali said, I got the biggest supporter of all, Allah. So what happened? Make sure you guys stay tuned. Join the classes tomorrow. Tomorrow I'm going to give you a quiz to cover what we discussed today, and then we'll begin discussion as to what happened after this. So make sure you guys are here. And again, for those of you who listen to my lectures on the internet, that's really good, alhamdulillah. But listening is not the same as learning. You need to join these classes every day so you can participate in the quizzes. Take the quizzes every day. You will never understand this religion until you are questioned and quizzed on it. Okay? Because a lot of times we hear things, they go in our ears and they come out, and they may be misinterpreted or not fully understood. So I encourage everyone listening to my lectures to join my classes, the live classes, every day at 6 p.m. Eastern. So you can also ask questions, partake in the quizzes, and participate. You have to learn, sit with the people of knowledge and learn directly from us, not just sitting there listening to our recordings. A recording is a recording. That's it. Nothing beats the real thing. Okay, so we'll stop right here for today. If you guys have any questions or comments, you can go ahead and type them on the screen. Subhanakallahumma wa bihamdika.